Hello and welcome to a Talmud Israeli production. Today we will review the highlights of this week's course of Daf Yomi study, Masechet Pesachim Daf Kuf Chaf to Kuf Chaf Aleph, 120 to 121, and then Masechet Shekalim Daf Bet through Vav, pages 2 through 6. 120. 6 days you shall eat matzah, and on the seventh day there shall be a convocation for the Lord. Mashvi'i reshut, av sheshem reshut. Just as the seventh day is an optional matter, a discretionary matter when it comes to the eating of matzah, so too the previous 6 days are a discretionary matter when it comes to eating matzah. Well, if that's the case, then you might have thought that it's always discretionary to eat matzah, and there never is an out-and-out obligation. Yachol af laila rishon reshut. Maybe even the first night should be a discretionary matter. Talmud lomar al matzot marim yochluhu. Therefore, it says in the Torah, on matzot and bitter herbs you shall eat your paschal sacrifice. So on the first night, it's an essential component of the meal. But that's only true when the temple stands. How do I know that when the temple no longer stands, there is still a biblical commandment to eat matzah on the first night of the Seder? Talmud lomar ba'erev tochlu matzot. That in the evening one must eat matzah. That this establishes a chovah, an obligation, regardless of the status of the temple with respect to eating matzah in the first night. 121, the last daf in Pesachim. Baruch shechianu v'kiyamanu v'giyanu lazman hazeh. The blessing of shechianu, thanking God that we arrived to this special day. Well, when it comes to a pidyon haben, the redemption of the firstborn, who makes that bracha? Who says it? Kohen mavarech or Aviyav merech? Does the Kohen get to say the bracha, or does the father of the baby say the bracha? On the one hand, the Kohen receives financial gain. Kohen mavarech the kamati hanali adei. Maybe it's his right to make the bracha because he gains financially. Or maybe Avi haben mavarech. Maybe the father of the baby does so because the kavod mitzvah, he's the one who performs a mitzvah. He satisfies his obligation. Vehilchata, and the letter of the law is that the father of the baby makes two brachot, the bracha over the mitzvah and the bracha of shechianu, and the Kohen does not make the shechianu. New tractate, Masechet Shekalim, Daf Bet. Amar Rabbi Abba Bar Acha, in at yachol lamed al uf yeshlu mazu. It's very difficult to understand the character, the nature of the Jewish people. Nitba'in la'egel v'notnin. When they were solicited to give valuables for the golden calf, they gave. When they were solicited to give valuables for the tabernacle, for the Mishkan, they also gave to that. So seemingly contradictory. One is avodah zarah, and one is the right form of worship. Tana, or you shall make an ark cover out of pure gold. Comes along the gold of the ark cover to atone for the gold which was given to the golden calf. So it's bizarre that people would give to two contradictory things in close succession, but the gold which was given for the purposes of the Aron would atone for the gold given for the sin of the golden calf. Daf Gimel. Originally, when the authorities would uproot the kilayim, the forbidden admixtures that were growing in the ground on people's property, the people who had these forbidden mixtures were happy for two reasons. One, minakshin sadotehem. On the one hand, they were happy because the authorities of the court were weeding their fields for them, doing them a favor. And also because they would benefit from the klayim. It would be eaten by animals. But however, when the number of people who were sinners increased, what they did was the authorities would throw the forbidden admixtures that were uprooted onto the street, and it no longer was to the material benefit of the owner of the property. However, they were nonetheless still happy because the fields were weeded. So because they were still happy, the authorities established that we will declare ownerless the entire field. So this owner who did wrong and having kilayim, he now loses out. His whole field is hefker. Daf Daled, page 4. If a Nachri, if a non-Jew or a Kuthian, a Shomroni, a Samaritan, were to give the shekel, we do not receive it from them. We do not accept it. Kuti kanachri divrei Rabbi. So Rabbi holds that the Kuthian is like a Gentile, out and out. He's not a Jew. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel Omer, Kuti Yisrael l'chol davar. However, his father Shimon Gamliel said that the Kuti is like a Jew for all purposes. It shouldn't surprise us that there's a machloket between Rebbe and his father on the matter of the Kuthians, because after all, their status vis-a-vis the Jewish people evolved over time. At an earlier time, they were regarded as our co-religionists, but later they came to be known as out-and-out Gentiles. So the later generation, the generation of Rebbe, was more inclined to view the Kuti as a Nochri rather than as a Yisrael. Daf Hey, page 5. Lahechana kalbonot noflin. The surcharge, the kalbon, which was added to the shekel payment. To what purpose did that serve? Who got the money? Rabbi Meir Omer l'shkalim. Rabbi Meir said, well, the surcharge goes into the same pot of money as do the shkalim themselves. Rabbi Elazar Omer l'dava. Rabbi Elazar says, no, they go to the temple coffers, but they're used for voluntary sacrifices. Nedavot. Rabbi Shimon Shazuri Rabbi Shimon Shazuri said they were used to make gold plating for the walls, the inner walls of the Kodesh Kadashim, the Holy of Holies. Ben Azai said the money changers would take the kalbonot as their salary for having done the job of being a money changer for the temple. And Yeshamrim, there are those who say that the money was used to pay the travel expenses of those who were working for this census, this shekel endeavor. That they traveled from the distant lands of the diaspora to bring the money, the coins, to the Beit HaMikdash, and their travel expenses were paid from these kalbonot. Dafav. Rabbi Yoshua ber Rabbi Nachami b'shem Rabbi Yochanan ben Azai, Yochanan ben Zakkai, lefi she'avru al sert hadvarim yenoten kol echad ve'echad asara geira. Because the people violated the 10 commandments, that is why they have to give esrim geira. Now, asara geira. Esrim geira, 20 geira, equals 1 shekel. Asara geira equals a half a shekel. The half a shekel is the amount that the person is supposed to pay in the machatzita shekel, the annual census. So, because of the violation of the 10 commandments, namely of not kidnapping and the sin of Yosef, so we have to pay our asara geira, which is the machatzita shekel. Everyone have a great week and a chag sameach to one and all.